MoneroTopia weekly news segment is sponsored by WizardSwap.io, a non-custodial cryptocurrency exchange.
Our first news story. Let's see. We have the Vigilante Fox, Pavel Durov. He's the creator of Telegram. Blows Tucker Carlson's mind by exposing U.S. law that forces engineers to install backdoors and bans them from telling their own company. So he's here we have Telegram CEO basically saying that in the U.S. it's not uncommon for devs to be forced to put in backdoors, and that the owners of the company don't even know. Let's go ahead and see if we could.
You can end up in jail, like gag order.
Here we go.
This
Actually,
yeah. You know what's interesting? In the U.S., you have a process that allows the government to actually force any engineer in any tech company to implement a backdoor and not tell anyone about it, with using this process called the gag order. And there are certain legal procedures.
Not tell his own employer about it?
And yes, exactly. If you tell your own boss, you can end up in jail, like gag order. This exists.
Actually?
Yeah. This is something that's on Wikipedia. In France.
In the Soviet Union or in the U.S.?
In the U.S.
Okay.
I'm not criticizing.
So your employees have a legal obligation to act as fifth column spies, saboteurs against you, your employees.
Well, that's one of the reasons we didn't discuss last time why I didn't move to the U.S. with my team.
And you got mugged in San Francisco on your one trip there.
Exactly. You know what's interesting? In the U.S., you have a process.
Yep. Yes, so that's interesting. I mean, as we know, Telegram is not exactly a privacy-preserving app, so it's not something that people should be trusting to begin with. But it's interesting that he's getting the word out on this. I don't know how true it is. Certainly wouldn't blow my mind if it is completely true. And it's kind of scary. But this is why open source matters. This is why, things like Monero, if done in the right way, even if devs were approached and forced to, quote unquote, try to put backdoors in, Monero being the nature that it is, completely open source, hopefully that wouldn't even be possible. But the fact that they can approach companies and approach devs at companies and force them to do these things and then put a gag order on them so that they can't even tell their own company's upper CEO or whatever it is, that's pretty wild. But once again, not hard to believe given some of the actions that we know have happened in the past with regards to the U.S. government spying on us. Let's see if I could just put the next news item here. That might be the easiest way to do it. Okay, so next news story is from Luke Radowski. I disagree with this. I don't like the act, and I think it's disgusting to do, but we shouldn't criminally arrest someone for offending people. So yeah, he's talking about the fact that Trump is basically calling for. Can I play this clip here? Breaking: President Trump announces he will be supporting legislation to jail people for a mandatory 1 year for burning the American flag in the street. We've now seen illegals do this multiple times in Los Angeles over the past several days. All patriots should. Wow, all patriots. So if you're a patriot, you should support the banning of free speech. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know if I'd go that far. I actually definitely would not go that far. I agree with Luke here. While I'm very supportive of America's values, and I like what we're attempting to do here in America in terms of the experiment. Yeah, I would never be supportive of eliminating free speech, even if that speech disagrees with my own viewpoints. I personally wouldn't be out there burning the flag. Just the signals it sends in general. It is anarchy, not the kind that we know is good. Rules without rulers, but just chaos. And Yeah, I mean, these are the times when we have to stand up for our truest principles here, and even if we don't agree with what's happening, you have to be okay with people practicing free speech, the freely assembling. This is an act. It's not a violent act. It's symbolic, and they're burning a flag. So the fact that Trump is now calling for jailing people for up to a year for this, I think is definitely crossing the line. And the fact that this is now, kind of selling it to MAGA and trying to bring on all quote unquote patriots to support this idea, I think is very dangerous. Let's see. Can I play the clip?
But they proudly carry the flag. But they proudly carry the flags of other countries, but they don't carry the American flag. They only burn it. Did you see a lot of the flags being burned? They weren't being burned by people from our country or from people that love our country. People that burn the American flag should go to jail for 1 year. That's what they should be doing. 1 year. And we'll see if we can get that done. We're going to try and get that done. We're working with some of your senators. I know Senator Josh Hawley is very much involved, and I know the 2 senators from here. I think are you guys in favor of it? Boy, would this be a bad time for them to say no. I got you. I got those 2 votes. The agitators are throwing.
Yeah, definitely going too far there. Definitely going too far and trying to push MAGA in that direction. I think it's dangerous. I don't know. Are there representatives that are speaking out against this? I'm sure there are, but on the Republican side, on the MAGA side, we have Mises Caucus chiming in here. No, this is a form of censorship. Unless they're destroying someone else's property, which is common in riots, burning a flag shouldn't be punished with jail time. I absolutely agree with that take. Besides, isn't it helpful to have such stark imagery of what protesters think, feel? Yeah, exactly. You could, if this enrages you to the point where you're like you're angry at them, go take it out on the polls. Go make sure that the people that are on the streets burning the flag, their influence doesn't grow, right? So you see that they're burning the flag, you disagree with it. Well, you disagree with those people. There's ways to carry out that disagreement within our system. Calling for the elimination of free speech and basically, destroying the principles this country was founded upon should not be the direction we head in. Let me see if I can pull up the next one over here. Boop, boop. Next story. This is bullish for Monero. All right, so this is the president of Mexico says, if necessary, we'll mobilize. We don't want taxes on remittances from our fellow countrymen from the U.S. to Mexico. So let's go ahead and listen to what the president of Mexico has to say here.
Porque de ser necesario nos vamos a movilizar, porque no queremos que haya impuestos a las remesas de nuestros paisanos, de Estados Unidos a México, porque de ser necesario nos vamos a.
All right, I need translation, but I guess we know the gist of what she's saying here. If necessary, we'll mobilize. We don't want taxes on remittances from our fellow countrymen from the U.S. So she's calling for an end to taxes when people are sending money back from the U.S. to their family members at home. Well, the solution is, Madam President, is to just tell your people to use Monero. But I doubt she would ever go that far. But this is something perhaps this is a sentiment perhaps that we could tap into in Mexico in terms of trying to onboard people to crypto and Monero in particular. This is, so during MoneroTopia conference, we're in Mexico. This will be our 3rd year in Mexico City. We did a good job of actually getting some local media attention in Mexico City. So we're trying to get, that came out of the conference. But maybe this is a theme that we can build upon at MoneroTopia next year. Maybe we could have some locals come and talk about this concept. and start to educate other locals about the fact that there are ways to avoid taxes on remittances and to avoid just the high fees that are charged by these, banks, companies that help you, quote unquote, help you send money back home, that end up taking a big share of the funds you're sending. Just use crypto, use Monero. So maybe we make that a larger theme at MoneroTopia. Next story here, we have Derek Bros pointing out that this guy, Dan Dix, was able to catch Peter Thiel in person. Dan Dix gets a few questions to Peter Thiel as he heads into the Bilderberg. So this is at the Bilderberg meeting where all the evildoers of the world come to meet and talk about, coordinate on how they're going to implement technocracy, bring about the new world order. Peter Thiel seems to be a large player in this, although he often portrays himself as a libertarian. We've even heard him. I even saw recent clips. I was going to bring it up on the news today. I think it's an old clip, but for some reason it's trending again, and it's Peter Thiel talking about Bitcoin's lack of privacy and how it's failing as digital cash because of that. So he portrays an interest in hardcore libertarian values and ideas and libertarian tech, right? Like Monero. He's never spoken about Monero, but the way he criticizes Bitcoin, it's like he's talking about a need for something like Monero. But actions speak louder than words. What is he doing? He's hanging out at Bilderberg. He's focused on a company that is providing surveillance tech to the U.S. government and probably all major governments around the world for purposes of surveilling their population and being able to predict crime. I mean, you don't get more dystopian than that. So let's go ahead and play this clip here. I don't think there's much juice here. He doesn't really get him to say much, but just the fact that he's completely avoiding interaction is pretty telling.
Mr. Thiel, do you have any comments about Palantir's surveillance of the American people, sir? Or any of your connections to Jeffrey Epstein? I think people are rather concerned about that last particular one. You're setting up a Big Brother surveillance system, and people know it, sir. You think the American people want this surveillance tech being used against them? Any comments at all on the Epstein connections? You were meeting with them. People are waking up to what you're doing there, sir. That's why we're here covering this.
Stone cold.
Wow, Peter Thiel was booking it. That man picked up the pace. The second the word Epstein came out, it seemed he started getting a little faster. But stone cold Peter Thiel. Of course, co-founded Palantir with Alex Karp, who is still here. And these are the guys who are setting up the Big Brother surveillance system, essentially to track, trace, and database everyone. Not just Americans, you may have heard me say that, but literally everyone. And that's a big reason part of the reason why he is here. There is a lot of heavy kind of tech representation here and military men who are preparing for something. So...
All right. Yeah. So Dan Dix is on it, man. Dan Dix gets it. I don't really know much about Dan Dix, but I like his style here. And he certainly understands what's going on here with the technocracy, and looks like he's on the front lines trying to expose the people that are working on it. Dandix sounds like a Monero guy. Maybe we should start reaching out to him, Monero fam. Maybe we get him to use, if he's not already using Monero, get him to use it. Maybe get him to use an XMR chat. He can receive Monero-based super chats and Monero messages. He seems like a good early adopter for Monero. Let me bring up the next news story. Greece, an L2 for Monero. Hi, guys. Good morning, afternoon, evening. I'd like to introduce you to Greece, an L2 for Monero that's currently in development. Anyone who wants to help would do well to do so. It's good to support new community projects, of course. Always check Greece. So Greece was... I've actually been talking to the guy who's working on this. I've known him for many years. Really, really great dude. So he'll likely do a Monero talk at some point. We'll get him on. I think he's going to be presenting Greece at MoneroCon, but basically he's proposing an idea for an L2 for Monero. I don't know technically what it's looking to do in details, but love to see it. There's some debate that's going on back and forth with regards to whether Monero even needs an L2 and what are the potential downsides of an L2. Not going to go into that now, but yeah, looking to have the creator of Greece on a Monero talk, and we could hear directly from him what exactly it is he's proposing. What's the potential upside, which obviously I guess we know it's so that Monero can scale, so we could do Visa-like level transactions on the Monero network, although I think there's some like Arctic who would argue that is possible on layer 1. But reading these threads, you see it is pretty compelling that Monero is going to need some kind of second layer in order to handle like Visa level transaction count. It's just things are going to get too big too fast. The nodes won't be able to handle it. The bandwidth. So obviously very, very exciting to see that somebody here is proposing a layer 2 and they'll be presenting it at MoneroCon. So excited to hear that and excited to get the creator on our show. Cubic mining, a possible attack on Monero. Kind of been watching this behind the scenes for a couple of weeks now. I just don't know really much about Cubic at all. But I think what is interesting, there's a couple of things right off the bat that if you're a Monero person is interesting. Number one, they're essentially like merge mining with Monero. And they got a lot, I think a relatively good amount. Well, here's somebody saying, I don't see the hype here. They only have 200 mega hash per second. But Cubic is basically alleging that they'll be essentially taking over the Monero mining network, that they're going to reach over 51% of the Monero mining network. And so there's some drama here. So yeah, two interesting from a Monero perspective. Number one is that they're mining Monero and contributing to the mining network. But number two is the creator, who's a controversial figure, come from beyond, was also part of the Bytecoin team, which Monero derived from. I was not very familiar with Come From Beyond, but an interesting character. So a one of the CryptoNote OGs, one of the founding fathers of CryptoNote. And I say this because I think we even have Fluffy Pony chiming in on it somewhere. Let me see if I could find that. I think I got it over here. Let me see. Well, let's go to let's see over here. So yeah, we have Come From Beyond tweeting, mining Monero via Cubic is more profitable 2 times currently than mining XMR directly. We will absorb all rational miners and the picture will change. So he's basically saying they're gonna take over the mining network. People are calling for him to at least use P2 pool. For some reason they don't want to. I don't really know what the argument is there as to why they don't want to use P2 pool. If they did, then they wouldn't become a threat, even if they got over 51% of the mining of the hash power, because they'd be using P2 pool. But then I'm also seeing tweets where he's saying, well, don't worry, we have no intention of messing with Monero, even if we get over the 51%. But obviously, it's going to be an issue if they do, right? Just the fact that somebody's sitting there that could disrupt the chain if they wanted to. Ricardo chimes in, if miners switch, it reduces profitability, you incompetent noob. There seems to be a lot of tension between Come From Beyond and Ricardo, and I think it's because of the long history that they had from the early days of CryptoNote. Come From Beyond responding, Cubic works different than Bytecoin clones, and your logic is inapplicable regarding incompetent noob. Is it really necessary to try to insult one who helped to launch the coin that you used as the code base for Monero? So referring to the fact that he was part of the Bytecoin team, and saying it's a little silly to be calling me incompetent noob, given that I'm one of the founding fathers of CryptoNote. And I tend to agree with Come From Beyond's logic there. Come From Beyond might be a complete asshole. He might be a nefarious dude. I don't know. But a little hard to call him an incompetent noob.
I would definitely
Go
have
ahead.
a few things to add here. So, one, I think most everyone in Monero, especially the OGs, kind of regard the Bytecoin guys as basically being scammers. And so it's like, okay, yeah, scammers know how to code. Like, just because you know how to code and just because you might understand some technical stuff doesn't make you not a scammer. So we also have to understand that, yeah, Bytecoin totally lost. Like, everyone went to Monero instead, and their scam didn't really extract that much. But they're still here, right? They're all still here, all wanting to extract value in ways that they can. And so it just seems to me like, hey, this guy was around with the early scam, and now he wants to find another way to scam. He pivoted to IOTA for a period of time, which was a retarded project where one time they fucked up so badly they had to literally steal everybody's funds so that a black hat wouldn't steal their funds. And then after they patched the bug, then they gave everyone their funds back. It's like the whole premise of IOTA was just extremely problematic. They were one of the earlier DAGs, the directed acyclic graphs, which is kind of like what AVAX does now, but in a not retarded way. So yeah, this guy hasn't really been a part of any project that wasn't either scammy and or just generally unsuccessful or untenable as a tech. So as far as can he get 51% of the hash rate? I have a hard time believing that, unless we just suddenly don't believe the game theory of mining that was designed for Monero, unless we don't believe that RandomX works like it's supposed to, or we don't believe that the market of miners and the game theory of mining in general is sound, right? Okay, in that case, then maybe he could get 51%. So I just don't see any reason why we would care about this guy unless he starts amassing 20-30% of the hash rate.
Yeah, I mean, 2 reasons I care is because he is pointing the miners to Monero. So I think that's interesting. I think it's, if he was it was a complete insignificant amount, then yeah, but it's a significant amount of mining power, of hash power. So I think, I don't think we should put our head in the sand with regards to that.
Now? What's the actual? I mean, I'm not saying don't care as in not look at it or pretend that he doesn't exist. I just mean not be worried about it.
Yeah. Okay, I agree with you there. I don't know.
So there's a snapshot there where he had at a moment in time he had a certain level of hash rate.
459 mega hashes per second.
If you want to make a big number, you could just buy a bunch of hash rate really quick, point that towards your towards your pool, take a snapshot, and then fall back down. So I'd have to see that. And I would also have to see someone else verify it. I don't trust his numbers, right? I want to see someone else.
I mean, we have seen the hash rate in general go up, though, right? So, obviously Atari is part of that, but certainly, right, reasonable to think that it might be coming from these guys as well, right? Contributing to the growing hash rate in Monero.
I don't know if it's reasonable to think that. It's reasonable to ask the question, are they? But I haven't seen any smart guys out there Like
Okay.
say Howard Chu, someone come out here that knows the mining ecosystem and says, hey, yep, this is their pool right here. We can track what their hash rate is. They have this particular signature. And here's what they have had over the past, say, 30 days. I haven't seen any analysis like that. I've just seen their own claims. So I don't know if we should necessarily just, defer to their claims.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so maybe we hear more about this. I think it's interesting that he's from the early crew of CryptoNote. Yeah, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, I do think it's fair to believe that while collectively they were a bad group of people, that maybe some of the parties involved were just the tech nerds that were interested in working on something, and they just happened to be working for a Russian criminal organization as they did it. Now, I'm not saying that Come From Behind is one of these guys beyond, because I'm seeing some of his stuff, and he doesn't look like a nice guy. You look pretty rough around the edges with some of his viewpoints and whatnot, and the way he handles people. So I can certainly see that maybe he wasn't one of the good guys. But I don't know, man. I don't discount these people from I get like like it could be, like maybe development isn't as impressive as we think it should be, but to be working on CryptoNote at that time and being in the mix of people that were doing it, I listen to those people, whether they're good people, bad people. I'm interested in what they have to say and what they're working on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to listen to what people have to say. Including the recent Hitler Youth, which none of them will get on a live debate with me.
Well, those people I'm not that interested in, just because I'm not very interested. Like I'm interested in Monero, right? I mean, obviously to a degree, I'm interested in that topic, but it's not really like why I come to X in the first place. So like giving them deference is like, well, what's the point? I'm not really looking to debate nationalism versus anarchism or anything like that with these guys. If they're, if there's somebody that has a controversial opinion about Monero and they have like the brain power to where I should respect their opinion, or they have the resume in terms of like their history and things they've worked on. But those guys are just, I don't know. They don't really even want to talk Monero stuff. They just want to talk shit. I don't know. I would love to get Come From Beyond on a Monero talk. I think I guess that'd be quite controversial. I'm sure people would be pissed at me. Why are you giving him attention? But yeah, I mean, truth be told, I would like to talk to him.
We have Quadricella on YouTube is saying that the 7-day history is approximately 200 mega hash. So it's about 4% of the hash rate.
Okay. That's not nothing. Right.
That actually is a player. Like if that's assumed, taking that at face value.
That's larger than P2 pool, right? What's P2 pool at?
No, P2 pool is like 20% almost. Maybe.
Oh, it's at 20 right now. Okay, I remember it was at 5
actually,
for a long time.
I need to take. It was at 5 for a long time, and then Tari came out, and then P2 pool smashed up on the percentage. And then now that the hash rate has dropped back some, I don't know. I guess we'd have to look at those numbers. Probably it's at least 10%. I bet. Like just giving it a wild ass guess. But to your point, like having this guy on wouldn't be entirely outside of it. Like it's about Monero. If you own 4% of the hash rate, like that's a relevant thing, right? Like having him on the show isn't a wrong thing to do, I don't think.
And I'd love to hear his early Bitcoin take. Obviously, I'm sure it's going to be something like Fluffy wouldn't want to hear, but I don't know, man. I'd like to hear about it. But he would never come on the show anyway, guys. I don't think he's ever done an interview. I threw it out there like, hey, DM me. I just want to hear more about Cubic. He never responded. Then other people from the Cubic community reached out to me telling me that he would never jump on no matter what, pretty much. Like he doesn't even go on and talk about Cubic or anything. So don't worry, guys. Don't worry.
Stays in the shadows. That's respect.
He just stays in the shadows. I think this is the final story today, and I only brought it up because I heard you guys talking about it. I didn't even hear about this. Do I have it up on screen right now? Minnesota lawmakers targeted in impersonation shooting. So where do we? Where was the main story here? Democratic Rep Melissa Hortman and her husband have been killed at their home in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination, says Tim Waltz. Senator John Hoffman and his wife were also shot in their home but remain in the hospital. So that both those things happened on the same day. All right, so let me hear these clips here. This is the first time I'm hearing.
We're here today
all
because
this.
an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota. My good friend and colleague, Speaker Melissa and her husband Mark, were shot and killed early this morning in what appears to be a politically motivated assassination. Our state lost a great leader, and I lost the dearest of friends. Speaker Hortman was someone who served the people of Minnesota with grace, compassion, humor, and a sense of service. She was a formidable public servant, a fixture and a giant in Minnesota. She woke up every day determined to make this state a better place. She is irreplaceable, and we've been missed by so many. Minnesota's thoughts and prayers are with her family, her loved ones, her children, and her parents. My prayers. We're here.
All right. Sad to see. A little crazy, a little wild. But don't worry, guys. I'm sure if we ramp up Palantir, we'll never see crimes like this again. We'll be able to identify all the political assassins before they even go and attempt to assassinate anybody, based on their how they use their money, based on how what they do on social media. We'll know the criminals, the assassins, before they even assassinate. So we should be good to go. No worries, guys. We're good. Let's hear some of these other. Let's hear what this one is all about. It's getting a lot of.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
Okay, so this is what she was assassinated for, allegedly, is that she voted no on healthcare for illegals. So politically speaking, I would tend to agree with that. Government shouldn't be spending tax dollars on healthcare for illegals. Here's a Democrat who I guess crossed the party line, voted no, and then she was assassinated. So I don't know. Maybe people have more info on that, but so wow, that's pretty wild. So it's like that was Dems going after Dems. I thought this was like a thing like Republicans going like extreme right wing, allegedly extreme right wingers going after people on the left. But unless I'm misinterpreting something, it sounds like she was crossing party lines to vote on in a Republican manner, right? But Bobby, are you following this story? Am I picking this up correctly?
I just heard it this morning. I just know I don't believe anything or anyone. Like, for all we know, this could be another mock-up. It could be another Luigi. It could be anything.
Yeah. And like this, this could be just another step towards us embracing Palantir to prevent crimes like this.
Yeah, the timing is really suspect. Like there's wars now going on, like escalating in the Middle East. There's attacks against Iran, and now Iran's attacking Israel, and then you got the Palantir thing, and then Musk is like, hey, Trump actually sucks, and he still won't release the Epstein list because he's on it. And they're like, shit, attack Israel, attack Iran, murder some lawmakers, right? Like, it all just seems too coincidentally related.